Good morning. Welcome to the session, The Future of Smart Cities. This session is in collaboration with Smart Change Project and organized by Goethe-Institut Indonesian Center for Digital Society and Engaged Media. My name is Budi Sutrisno and will be your moderator for this session. I am a lecturer at Department of Sociology, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, University of Padjadjaran. I am also a PhD student at Research School of Social Sciences, the Australian National University. My research focus on the impact of technology to economic sociology and society. In the next hours, we will listen to and have a chat with our speaker, Juan Kanggrawan, about what the city of the future will look like. Smart cities use data and digital technology to bring solutions to urban challenges. The integration of information technologies into existing infrastructures aim to create value for citizens, despite the increasing population density. But what kind of data governance is needed for smart cities? And what will the city of the future look like? Okay. Before the seminar begins, I want to remind you, if you have questions, you are welcome to type them below. We will have time afterwards for Q&A, and we will try to best to answer all of your questions as long as the time permits. Okay, let me introduce the speaker. The speaker is Juan Kanggrawan. He is Head of Product, Tribe Operation and Data at Indonesia National Ministry, GovTech and Smart Cities. He is also analytics, product management, technocrat, and business strategy professional with more than 12 years of exposure in business, government, and technology. Hello, Mr. Juan.
Hello, Pak Budi. Nice to see you and all the participants. Hope you are good and healthy.
Okay. Okay, maybe you can start the presentation. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Pak Budi, for the warm introduction. And yeah, thanks and for all the participants as well to dedicate your time in this session. Yeah, so let me share my screen. Okay, and let me present this fully. I can't see you. So Pak Budi, do you mind to give comment verbally? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Pak. So yeah, as already mentioned by Pak Budi, and I believe by the organizer as well, today I will present about the big topic about the future of smart cities. And for sure, I will use the perspective from Indonesia and ASEAN. So in my previous works, I've been working as well in the tech companies, Unicorn, in the Jakarta Smart City, and also the National Ministry GovTech. Yeah, so I think based on my experience in both technologies / business and also government, I think I will share my perspective. So my sharing will be brief, but I hope I can give you a good trigger so we can discuss further later on. Yeah, so I think I will spend around 15 to 20 minutes for my presentation. So this is my personal website and also business card. Feel free to reach me as well if you want to know more and you want to discuss or further collaborate with me and also Smart City or GovTech. So I'm very open for that. So in terms of the context and intro, I will share with you about the foundation, about smart city. So I think I will start from here, Indonesia. I think we have what we call the 100 Smart City Initiative and also 1,000 digital startups. I think there are several agencies in the ministry level, in the provincial level who are involved in this initiative. So to me, it's not just a number, but when we talk about, let's say, 100 smart cities, what I have in mind is how we can digitalize, how we can improve the innovation across province, across cities, Indonesia, and how we can bring the concrete benefits to the citizens, to the government, to the ecosystems. For sure, there are several pillars for smart city, let's say like smart economy, infrastructure, people, governance, environment, living, and so on. But I don't want that to be abstract or to be theoretical. I want that to be translated into initiative that can bring benefits to the cities and then to the citizens. So this is the first context that I want to share with you about smart city, especially in Indonesia. The next one, this is the example from Jakarta. I don't think this is the only one or the only framework. I know there are other smart cities or digital service, let's say in Surabaya, in West Java, in Makassar, and so on, right? So I think for Jakarta, I think we don't want smart city just to be the data aggregator or the data integrator. So we want to move smart city from data to service, platform, hub, and ecosystem. What I mean by that. So in the past, I think smart city is notable about sensors, about IoT, Internet of Things, whereby you can collect many data, you can collect many pattern details and so on. But I think we should think further after we get all those data, after we understand the pattern, then what it means for the government, what it means for the citizens. I think based on that idea, we want to build more robust services, platform, hub, and ecosystem. So that's why I think the success of smart city is not only about the smart city as a unit or as an agency, but how we can bring value to the ecosystem, how we can work together with the university, research agency, with the other government, with the technology companies, and so on. So I think this is the context and intro that I want to share and highlight to you as well. And then the next one is about the example from the ASEAN Smart Cities Network. So I think the website is very open, it's public, so you can just type ASEAN Smart Cities Network and you'll be able to see the website and see this document. So there's a framework whereby we want to address the key challenges in the cities, in the countries, and how we can leverage smart city paradigm, smart city concept to solve and to bring the solutions. So it can cover several areas like this congestion, air quality, security, urban-rural divide, and inequalities. So based on this, then we can have a more specific uniqueness and a specific focus for smart city to tackle all these key challenges. So I think this is the context and intro that I want to share with you. So I mentioned about the overall Smart City Initiative Indonesia, that I mentioned one example in Jakarta, and also touch the framework and example in ASEAN context. I hope these details can give you a good background and context about smart city in general. Now, what I want to share with you are some of the examples, concrete initiatives that we have been doing and executed in the past. Yeah. So I think in the Jakarta context, what we have done is to build what we call the city or governor dashboard, whereby based on this dashboard, we can see the key metrics. It's about the public complaints, it's about the traffic jam, about flood, subsidy utilization, and so on. So based on this dashboard, you'll be able to see the pattern in your city, the key metrics, and you can make a decision and you can take actions about it. I think that's one example that I want to share with you. The next one is about a bit of the functional ecosystem, whereby you have in Jakarta, let's say 200 up to 200 government agencies. And from there, you must be able to understand the key metrics. And then from there, you consolidate what kind of data, what kind of services that you want to build, you want to develop, and you want to roll out for your citizens, for your government agencies, and so on. So in Jakarta context, we try to consolidate the domains from health, education, social aid, citizenship, economy, and so on. So based on there, we built the data warehouse, master data management to enable our dashboard, our super apps, and also our reports for our leaders, say governor level, vice governor, head of agencies, and so on. So I think this is the current efforts that we have been doing. And then the next one, when we reflect back during the COVID-19, I think there's a positive pattern, positive note that at least we try to digitalize our services and then the way we interact and collaborate. So we have been working with quite a number of agencies from health, from economics, from mobility, citizenship, and so on, to enable this dashboard, to enable this kind of social aid platform that we can collaborate together with all the relevant partners in the ecosystems. I think this is one example that I can share with you about COVID-19 context. The next one is about the implementation of machine learning, data science, or artificial intelligence. So this is the example, again, during COVID-19, whereby we can detect the usage of masks by our citizens, especially in the public area. And from there, we can understand, is there any disobedience from the citizens? And from there, our relevant government agencies will be able to follow up because there are existing reporting platform, and then there's a notification that will be triggered to the relevant government agencies. The next one, I think smart city is not only about technology, about data. I think if we develop the dashboard, but it's up there, I think there is no exciting usage, yeah, or there is no exciting direct benefits. So what we want to achieve is how we can bring good impact and how we can ensure there is a strategic decision making based on data, based on our recommendation. So that's why within Jakarta Smart City, we have been working with other government agencies, research agencies as well, to enable this kind of analysis, this kind of recommendation. So our leadership in the governor, in the vice governor, in the head of agencies, they will be able to understand the pattern, and they are able to develop the policy, formulate policy, and also assess the previous policies that we have implemented. I think this is the effort that we have done as well in the smart city context. And again, if you haven't known or you haven't seen this before, I think feel free to take a look. Jaki, Jakarta Kini, is the super apps in Jakarta context, whereby we try to integrate 200 up to 300 services from the government agencies in Jakarta. Then we try to understand which services are the key priorities, which services are the most important for our citizens, for our government agencies. And from there, we step back and we try to consolidate the top 10, top 20 services to be integrated in the super apps. In the past, what has happened, I think each of the agency may develop their own website, their own database, their own application. I think it's not really user-friendly. It is not good in terms of the user experience, because the citizen, the individuals need to download each of the application or access separate website. So by having this so-called super apps, what we have done, we can integrate all those important services. We can work together with the relevant tech companies, local startups, and how we can bring a more relevant services for our citizens, especially. So I think this is the example of the services that we have integrated so far. It encompasses healthcare, education, environment, information statistics, manpower, economics, and so on. So the idea here is, I think we learn from the industry, from the tech companies as well, how we can provide integrated services into one platform, so we can improve the user friendliness and we can serve our citizen better. So this is what we have done in the context of Smart City to provide the integrated platform and integrated digital services. So now I will touch, I think, the last part, which is I think the most important point from today's session, which is the future trajectory of Smart City, not only Indonesia or Jakarta, but also I think in Asia in general, and also in the global context. Again, this is purely from my experience, from assessment, can be limited and open for further discussions, yeah, and further input as well from the audience and from the moderator. So I have 3 points over here. So the first one is modular. What I mean by modular smart city is we can plug and play, we can drag and drop, we can choose what kind of services that we want to build, what we want to use, what we want to integrate, and we can work together with other smart cities. I think in the past, there is a concept of modular smartphone, whereby you can integrate, disintegrate, we can exchange the components, the parts of your mobile phones, and then to make it suitable with your preference and with your needs. I think that's the idea of smart city as well. I think learning from the ASEAN Smart Cities Network, we have done a lot of discussion, collaboration, a lot of events, and so on. But I think what we can improve, how we can ensure the integration between services, the integration between technologies can be done faster, and that's why we can bring more benefits to our citizens. So I think that's the first one I want to share with you. The second one is about the sustainability. I think depends on the cities, depends on the countries. There are different approaches about smart city, and there are different focus as well. So what we want to highlight here, I think for the smart city, we try to be more sustainable, especially in for our business model as well. So I think for a smart city, we can also get revenue based on the services that we provide, let's say to other smart cities, to our citizens, to our other government agencies, and so on. So based on the discussion with some of the consulting firms and also the technology partners and other government agencies, we try to develop what kind of business model that will be useful for smart city. We can try to understand about the revenue model, the business model, the role itself of smart city, what will be our focus, what areas that we want to emphasize. Can be products, can be platform, can be integration, can be services, and so on. And is there any sector that we want to see as the priority? Because if we take a look at even in the ASEAN countries or ASEAN cities, the focus in each of the city or country can be different. How we can understand the priority in each of the country or city, and we can bring value to the needs, right? It can be about energy, traffic, water, waste, and so on. And so I think this is the part about sustainability that I want to highlight to you. Again, I want to remind all of you that smart city is not only about the unit of smart city itself, but how we can give influence to the ecosystem and how we can work together with numerous partners in the ecosystem and including in the industry. So the last part that I want to share with you, I think is a concrete initiative together with Smart Change as well, and even other international organizations, whereby we care about the ecosystem, whereby the success of the smart city is when we can work together with other organizations, with the tech companies, and how we can develop concrete initiative that can bring benefits. It can be about webinars, it can be about digital talents initiative, it can be about how we can match demand and supply between new startups with the government and so on. So I think we have done this kind of initiative together with Jakarta, Berlin, Smart Change, and so on. So including this webinar. I think this is the idea, that's the spirit whereby as a smart city, we want to work together with more players in the ecosystem. And from there, we believe we can improve the impact to the ecosystem as well and to all the players. So I think that's the idea and then the mindset of smart city that I want to share with you. So before I close here, let me stop my screen sharing. And before we discuss further in the discussion session, what I really want to highlight to you, I think smart city is always evolving, right? New technologies will be there, but how we can ensure the new technology, we can match that with the strategic priority in the city, in the country, and from there, how we can bring value to the government and how we can bring value to the ecosystem. That's why I think collaboration mindset and then open-mindedness and how we can leverage and always learn with the new possibilities, new technologies to tackle the key priorities or the strategic issues in our cities or countries. I think those are the details and some of the lessons learned that I can share with you, and then the future trajectory that I can see from my perspective. I hope my sharing is useful for you, and I'd like to pass this back again to Pak Budi. Thank you, Pak.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pak Juan. It's very interesting presentation and also the concept of the smart city, Jakarta Smart City. And we have several questions, Pak Juan, is from the audience. But for the first, I want to ask about the data. Yeah, because you mentioned about the Jaki. And in the several days, I was read in the newspaper online, and the Jaki compared with the manual, and the Jaki was the winner. Yeah, I think it's the super apps is like maybe the success story of the Jakarta smart cities. Yeah, because he can create so one ecosystems is very good. Okay, this is a question about data, Mr. Juan. The implementation of this smart city application requires a lot of data from the community. How does Jakarta Smart City or smart cities protect public data from being leaked? I think this is still become a major problem in Indonesia.
Yep, sure. I'll address this question. But before I address this, let me share my personal context as well. Yeah. So beyond Smart City and GovTech, I've been discussing even with the legislative Commission 1 about this RUU Perlindungan Data Pribadi, the Personal Data Protection Act. So I have certain context about this, and we compare as well about GDPR in Europe and PDPA in Singapore. If you're not aware, it's about the Protection Act in Europe and also the Personal Data Protection Act in Singapore. Yeah. So I think there are regulations about this, and we benchmark ourselves as well. So I'll try to be practical in the context of smart city and several ministries that I can share. So I think the very simple one is how we can ensure that we can have a proper personal data, in the context of the ministries and also the government agencies, whereby we can split, let's say, the table of the personal data. So when we want to ensure there are services, features, or analysis that require personal data, then we have the mechanism to track and have an approval mechanism. Other than that, we have also the ISO standard to ensure there's a proper governance and there's a proper security mechanism on that. For sure, it's not perfect. We understand as well in the Indonesia context, there are several so-called cases, not only in the government, but also in the industry, in the technology companies. I think what we need to do, specific about the Personal Data Protection Act, is not just about the approval or the formalization of the law or the regulation, but how we can execute that as the ecosystem. And I think there's also ongoing discussion. There should be like a third party to really monitor the implementation and also to execute or enforce the policy itself. Again, that's the idea. But for the smart city, come back again. So when you hear my explanation about the integration of data, for sure it includes the personal data of the citizen in Jakarta, 10+ million citizens, for example. So what we need to do is to ensure all the PII data, the personal data like full name, mobile phone, email, and so on, it can be stored specifically. It can be stored in a more secure mechanism. We hash that if you want to share that. I think those are some of the practices. If you ask, has that fully solved the challenges? I don't think so. But again, in the next few years, we should improve progressively, not only as a unit, but as an ecosystem, as a players as well, including with the public, right? We should educate the public as well to be more mindful and aware about these so-called data-related matters. I think that's my answer, Pak. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And the next questions from Dia Alif. What difficulties has the government found in implementing smart cities so far? And how effectively smart cities are implemented in several regions in Indonesia?
Sure. I think I can give a pragmatic answer. Every time I share, I always mention not all governments should implement smart city. And the name can be changed as well, right? So it can be smart city, it can be digital service, it can be transformation office, and so on. But the idea is here how we can ensure we can innovate, we can digitalize in the context of government. So based on this perspective, what are the key challenges? I think specific in the Indonesia and ASEAN is how we can improve the mindset for collaboration. It means we need one another, and we need a proper working framework, and we need a proper collaboration framework. So let's say across ministries, across agencies, across province, how we can work together. I think during COVID-19, it has given us a good opportunity to improve ourselves in terms of we can learn one from one another and how we can improve our collaboration. So I can tell the issue or the challenges are not about the technical matters or admin matters, but about the mindset, how we can work together. If we can have this mindset, we should work together, we should build better services together. I think more or less we can really enhance and improve the initiative, not only about smart city, but also digitalization in general. I think that's my answer.
Okay, this one, the question is linked to the previous question. How is Jakarta compare right now to other smart cities? Because so many smart cities in Indonesia, okay? As you say, 100 smart cities project.
Sure. Yeah, I want to be very specific, and I don't want to be uniquely representing Jakarta alone, because I think my interest here is not only about Jakarta Smart City as a unit, again, as I mentioned to you, but I really hope that across, let's say, especially Indonesia, across ASEAN, we can improve together in terms of the digitalization. Just to share a bit in terms of the context, many times I share, especially before COVID, I travel a lot, sometimes with my own expense, to share with other smart cities, with other ComInfo in the provincial level, how we can improve our collaboration, how we can improve our digitalization. I think that's my mindset. So in terms of the level where we are, let's say about Jakarta, about Jabar, about Surabaya, about Makassar. I don't want to give you a very a simple answer on that. I believe you can research about the ranking and so on. I think there are many research and many websites that already mentioned about that. But I can tell you, I think Indonesia, Jakarta is one of the initial smart city that we have established. Yeah. So I think there are many lessons learned, the ups and downs from Jakarta, and also transition from leadership to leadership, right? Let's say from Pak Jokowi, Pak Basuki, Pak Anies, Pak Heru Budi, and so on, right? So I think that journey is really useful and critical. And from that angle, we can ensure in other digital initiative, how we can ensure there's a proper transition and there's a proper continuation. I think that's the idea that's the mindset that I have, right? And then a side note or a closing note, if you want to know more, I mean, you just Google all the smart cities in Indonesia, the awards, the ranking, and so on. I think there are many resources about that. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Juan, Jakarta is home to a great number of people with complex dynamics, okay, divided among class line, race, age, and with many needs and concerns, okay? And how can Jakarta, a smart city, deliver public service optimally?
Sure. I think in this context, I want to learn and benchmark ourselves with the tech companies or the unicorn, yeah, whereby many of them, they can provide what we call the customized services. I think we learn also from them, right? The way they segment the customer, they understand the behavior and provide relevant product services. I think that's the mindset that we have, yeah. So when we talk about Jakarta or Indonesia, they are so diverse, right? In each of the province, in each of the region. So even in Jakarta alone, we have also Kepulauan Seribu, yeah, 1,000 islands,
yes,
right? It can be very different in terms of the demography, in terms of the mindset, right? So we need to understand our citizens properly. Let's say out of 10+ million citizens in Jakarta or almost 300 million in Indonesia, what is the demography? What kind of services that we can build to target each of the demography? I think that's our thinking process as well. That's why we have been thinking as well about the demographic citizen for the disabled, for example, right? Or let's say for the elderly, or let's say for the low-income citizens. How we can ensure there's enough technology and also internet access for them, for example, and how we can ensure they can access our services with their, let's say, old version of mobile phone, for example. So I think those are the thinking processes that we have in mind to ensure that our technology, our services are inclusive, not only, let's say, for the top tiers of the citizens, but we can include as well of the demography. And as a government, for sure, what we want to ensure is the services that can be enjoyed by the majority, by most of our citizens, not only for the glimpse or the certain percentage of the citizens. Yeah, so that's the thinking process and the way we also understand about several demographies, especially in Jakarta or Indonesia, and how we can provide a more targeted tools or services for them.
Okay, and this is one question from the Jakartan. Okay. As a Jakartan, I often don't feel belong in the city, given that policies are made without my consent. Beyond using application, how would smart city encourage a meaningful public participation for the citizen? We know that public meeting like Musrembang tend to take a top-down public service announced approach. How could smart city provide citizens some sense of ownership to the city? It's like the city ownership.
Yeah,
like
sure.
belonging.
I think it's a very good question. Yeah, I think in every city and every country, I think we also face this challenge here. How we can ensure our citizens are heard, their inputs are considered, especially in the decision making, in the policy formulation. I think that's the idea. Yeah. Again, Jakarta alone, I think we are still also learning. Yeah, and for sure, other province and Indonesia, they may have different ways in doing this. But again, for Jakarta, I think we have introduced what we call the citizen response management, yeah, CRM, whereby you can report your complaints about, let's say, trash, about flood, traffic, and so on. And from there, relevant government agencies will be able to follow up accordingly. I think that's one way to do that. And again, there are many other ways, right? So we have the Musrembang is one way, and we try to organize like the FGD or public discourse, public discussion to ensure that we can understand the consolidation of the inputs, the preference from the citizens, and if there are representatives, let's say from the social sector, social NGOs, and so on, we try to engage them as well. For sure, we are not perfect. I think we need to improve ourselves, but that's the way we should do and we should work, right? Another way that we have been working so far is how we can hear the expert inputs or advice, yeah, let's say based on certain recommendation, let's say about traffic, about air quality, about economy, about digitalization, right? So we work together with the relevant international organization, research agencies, and so on to really ensure we have a well-rounded inputs and considerations. For sure, we are not perfect. If you are the questioner, you have certain aspiration and you have certain ways, yeah, in sharing our input. I mean, use any means here, including me. Let me share my personal experience since 2015. I tried to give input to the government, and I attend hackathon, bootcamp, I attend the FGD, and again, I become the organizer. Then after that, I fully joined the government bodies itself. So I think there are many ways, there are many trajectories for you. So yeah, I think there are for sure good opportunities for you to share your thought, your inputs. Or another way is you can develop startup, NGO, and then from there you provide services for the government. Then from there you can show to the government, this is the way we should do this, and then we can work together. So in the certain sense, we hear your inputs and we hear your expertise as well. Then from there we can work together. I think those are some of the nuances that I can share with you based on my previous past few years experience, yeah, in the government. Thanks.
Okay, is one question about the Jaki, Juan. Yeah, what is the most used services in the Jaki apps?
Sure. Okay, sure. I think 2 or 3. The first one is the Jak Lapor, yeah, or the citizen response management, whereby you can report the complaints from the citizen. Every month we are still having 10K plus up to 15K plus reports, yeah, 10,000 sampai 15,000 every month, right? So I think most of you in the past, let's say 5 to 7 years, you may hear about Clue. So Clue is one of the channel or one of the features that we can integrate together to understand the response and the complaints from our citizens. Right now we have around 15 to 17 channels whereby we can integrate and understand the complaints from our citizens. Yeah, I think that's one of the service. The next, second, or the third one is about our digital ID. So we have that as well for our Jakarta, and we also have the monitoring system, yeah, for the transportation as well. We integrate recently with the Jaklingko, the integrated multimodal transportation system. So I think those are the services that have been used fully. Again, if you ask me, it can change from time to time. And in the future, we want to include with more and more services. Yeah. So I think during COVID-19 context, one of the top feature is about the vaccination and then the scheduling as well, right? But again, after the COVID-19 is getting better, we enter the recovery stage. I think the feature itself, the usage is also become declining, yeah, because it's natural, because the COVID-19 itself is already recovered. Yeah, I think that's my answer about the top features.
Okay, it's also about a Jaki, because Jaki is like a hub, yeah, hubs to links all of the platform. It's like platform hub. Okay, but as you know, the Jakarta citizen is very diverse, has so many class, and I think with the lower class is they are still like how to use the Jaki. Yeah, how Jaki as a platform hub can address this problem, because it's like some digital divide in our country is still a problem.
Sure. I think it's a good question. And also it's related to the previous question about the demography, about how we can serve the citizen. And I think this question is not only addressed to Jaki or Jakarta Smart City. We can address this question as well to the tech companies, to the unicorn, or even to the digital initiative in the national level, right? So I think that's a similar question that we need to answer. How we can ensure all the relevant demography, all the citizens can access the system or the features, right? So again, to us, it's quite straightforward and pragmatic as a government. So we know we should have hybrid model, right? So from the Jakarta Smart City perspective, then we can have a platform whereby you can access that digitally, for example, right? And again, we must be mindful as well, what kind of demography, what kind of segment of citizens that can use or access our demography? Is it young people? Is it senior? In which location? Is there any, let's say, kampung kumuh, slums, for example, that access our services? Even in certain initiative, we also combine with the physical approach or the physical event. Let's say about social aid, medical initiative, and so on. Right. So we understand the needs for our citizens. Even during the COVID-19 context, right? We have done the so-called the bus vaccine, or the mobile vaccine. So vaccination by car, because we know not everyone can access the digital features directly, right? So I think we combine all these approaches, but when we say we use the physical approaches, we have done sufficient analysis as well. Which area that we want to cover, which location that we want to target, and so on. So based on this so-called digital or data analytics initiative, then we can provide a more targeted services for our citizens. Again, we are not perfect. If you know there are certain demographies or certain segment of citizens that we have not served well, I think we are very open for your input as well. And maybe we can think through that in our next roadmap for our features. So we can try to tackle those demographies, and then we can provide and combine with the relevant physical initiative as well. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Okay, there is one question from Cindy Yuliandini, Mr. Juan. Yeah. Thank you so much for the information about smart city. So I am from Indonesia, and there is some issue about delivering information related to technology-based concept, like the concept about smart city to Generation X and baby boomers generations. Then what can we do to deliver smart city concept and run it properly? It's about like some generation gap maybe.
Yeah. Sure. I think it's everywhere, right? When you work in the industry, in the global companies, I think there are people who are more seniors that need to know a bit more about the technology, right? So I want to be pragmatic in my answer. So let me use the example when we work together in the context of government, in the national level, in the professional level as well, how we can ensure the leadership they are able to understand the technology. So I always mention that technology is a tool or is an option to achieve something, right? So that's the point that I keep emphasizing. What is our fundamental objective? What is the actual result that we want to achieve? So start from there, because let's say the senior people, right, and then the senior leadership, they may not understand fully about the details of the technology. But when we talk about them, okay, this is the direct impact. This is the benefits that you can get. You can implement your policy more targeted, for example, or you can bring more benefits to the citizens, or you can get better services, or let's say using the startups context, you can order food more easily, or you can order a flight ticket more easily. Then we start from there. And from there, we introduce the technology. What technology that will be relevant for you, right? Then we always use the simple steps first in introducing the technology. I think that's the typical mindset that we have. So the generation gap is always there. But again, there's a science and art how to balance this and how we can ensure the innovation and technology mindset can be adopted in the wider context. I think that's my answer.
Okay. Juan, is one question from Amanda Eureka. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. It's about the lagar. People who kind of adapt to the new situation. Smart cities have sophisticated program and methods, especially how to utilize the percentage of population in the city for digital transformation. How do people adapt well to the change? Because every society will have its own views, especially people who are not open to change.
Yeah, for sure, everywhere is there, right? And if you know about the innovation cycle or the technology adoption, there's a chasm, or there's a gap, jurang, between the adopter of the technology or the innovation to the people who are so-called laggard or who are skeptical and so on. And it's always there, everywhere, right? So what we try to do is to crack the first, let's say, 1 or 2 segment who can really use our features or our innovation. I think if we can target the, let's say, 20%, 30% of the total population, I think it's good enough, right? So we have certain baseline for the usage. And I think after that, typically, if the feature is good, if the product is good, there will be word of mouth and people more aware about that. So allow me to use some names over here. Let's say now we have Google, we have Gojek, we have Tokopedia, Grab, and so on, right? So I think more and more people, even the senior segment who have been using these tools or applications, initially they are not, right? So how they can achieve that or they can use that? So based on the word of mouth, they know the exact benefits, they can order something, they can get certain services, and so on. I think that's the mindset as well that we have in terms of the digitalization, not only in smart city, but also government in general, right? Even now, I think I also use this for my annual tax, right? I can just go to the website or application from the Ministry of Finance, for example. I think that's the idea whereby we can help them certain demographic first to use the technology. Then I think after they get the benefit, they enjoy that, then they can introduce further to the wider audience. For sure, I think there will be a certain segment of the citizen who are more skeptical, who are more defensive, who are more reluctant to change, right? Again, to me, I'm very pragmatic. I think, and also realistic, right? I don't think I want to ensure 100% of the citizen, all of them, they are using my apps, for example, or my features. So I don't think so. But I think after you have certain good so-called market sizing, you know the demography of the citizens that will get benefits from your features, then you can have a more realistic expectation, right? So again, to address your question, the people who are more skeptical are always there. Then I think you can have a different approach, right? Maybe for them, you don't introduce the features, but you can conduct, let's say, like the digital literacy class or initiative, for example, right? How to can engage them to be more, at least open first about digitalization. They're aware about data, they are aware about the basic of the technology, social media, mobile phone, and so on. I think that's my comment about this, yeah?
Yes. Also, I think digitalization is important, yeah, for the smart city project to become the smart people. Okay, it's about policies, Pak Juan. One of problem in city governance is rigidity of the bureaucracy, yeah. How smart city can overcome or to deal with this problem? Yeah, because it's like a sectoral ego. Yeah, in Indonesia, it's like sectoral ego.
Sure, it's very common everywhere, and that's why this is my excitement. Yeah, it means there's a room for improvement, and that's why I'm not only helping smart city, but also government in general to adopt technology. You can mention in the national level, in the regional level, in ASEAN, in the provincial level. Yeah, let me mention some provinces like Jakarta, West Java, Makassar, North Sumatra, and so on. Right. So I think I've been involved in this kind of initiative. So the idea is simple: how we can match or marry bureaucracy with innovation or technology. It's not easy, but again, to me, I think pragmatically. First, I will find the change agent or the change maker. And second one, I'll try to find the impactful domain. I think with these two mindset, then you'll be able to drive the innovations in the government, right? Can be in the national level, can be in the provincial level. Let me use that example. So during COVID-19, for example, if you want to prioritize which areas that you should push further, for sure, healthcare, because you want to ensure a proper healthcare services for the citizens during COVID. Secondly, maybe economics or social aid, because you want to ensure you can help the relevant citizens who cannot work due to the COVID-19 situations, right? And then you also work together with the citizenship agency, because you need to know more about the demography of the citizens. So this is the way I think. So when you talk about the government, for sure, even until now, there's the so-called sectoral ego, the way we work within only our domain and so on. But it doesn't mean we cannot change or we cannot improve that based on the with the proper approach, proper strategy. We understand the impactful domains. We find a good change agents. I can happily share with you. Even in every agency, I can find selected people or group or sub-departments who are more open to changes, who are more open with collaboration. Start from there, and you start with small things first. You iterate, and then after you get the results, then you scale it up. You present the success stories, and I think based on that momentum, you will be able to get more buy-in from other agencies, and from there you can expand your collaboration. I think that's the approach and the way I tackle the so-called sectoral ego challenges, not only in the provincial level, also in the national level, even in the regional level. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. There's one question that is about still about the policies. Can you give examples of Jakarta policies that are based on data collected by smart city? I'm also
Yeah, for sure.
wondering if smart city already collected data like traffic or movement flow to solve the problem with congestion and improve public transportation, for example.
Yeah, for sure. You already mentioned the examples itself, right? So yeah, we use the data about transportation mobility. Yeah, we have data, let's say, for Google Waze to understand the traffic pattern. We have also the sensor about air quality. We are also having the citizen response management system to understand the complaints about the 10,000, 15,000 complaints every month. So we analyze all those data, even with the flood, the water level sensors, and so on, right? So we have been doing that. And what kind of policies that we have developed based on data? I think a lot. So firstly, about the COVID-19, which school that we should open, how many social aid that we should give, should we introduce another social mobility limitation or not, what kind how many hospitals that we should support to ensure good services for the COVID-19 patients, right? And then about the traffic, for example, or even policy or the busway routes, right? And also the bike sharing, let's say, pattern or the bike sharing route, for example. I think we have done that as well because we have been analyzing all those data. And then based on that, we develop and recommended the policies relevant to the healthcare, to the social aid, about the transportation, and so on. Again, it takes time, we have to really educate the decision makers, to the leadership, governor, vice governor, head of agencies, to really make this decision based on the data. But once you can present your dashboard, your analysis in the leadership meeting, in the decision making process, in a discussion, I think it's really a good step whereby you can also influence and improve the policy making process based on the data. I think that's my answer.
Okay. In this question and about data. Is the data collected by Smart City open for public? I am a researcher and interested in seeing the data.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're a researcher. I think what you can start is actually from the open data portal. Yeah, I think there are many portals. So in the national level, we have Satu Data Nasional. I think each of the ministry, I know like the education, Infocom, and so on, they have their own portal as well. In the provincial level, like Jakarta, like Jawa Barat, yeah, Surabaya, if I remember correctly, we have also our own portal, right? So we can start from there. Again, specific for Jakarta and some ministries, we have a proper SOP or process, yeah, for research. So you can openly share your interests, and we will follow up accordingly. I can share with you my own experience. I think I can handle 7 up to 10 research requests every week. So we have interview, we share the data, and then I'm happy there are many publications in international level, regional level, even some campuses. Let me share some names like UI, ITB, BINUS, and so on, right? Who publish the research based on our collaboration, let's say with the government. I think that's our mindset as well, because when we have data, we have context, we have policy, we want to share that as well, so we can improve in terms of our understanding from the based on the inputs, yeah, from the researcher, from the domain expert, and so on. Even with our collaboration with Smart Change, with Berlin, with the international organizations, we have been doing that as well to really hear the inputs from researchers with the domain experts to really improve progressively about our policy. Yeah.
Okay, Juan, Jakarta Smart City has like a command center, like in Bandung Command Center, you public can access freely.
Oh yeah, I think there's a website for that. And then for the for if you want to visit, I think we have the opening hours here for that. But if you want to have a proper meeting, I think it's good for you to send the request letter, yeah, because we need to serve you properly. So there will be like the PIC who can explain to you and to host you, yeah, in our so-called Smart City Command Center. And I think it's applicable to other smart cities and national initiative as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And what's in one question from Rahma Davita, like the stage of the smart city development, with several focus on developing smart cities, can this development be carried out simultaneously, such as the development of the economic system and public transportation system? Or should it be done in stage so that the implementation of smart city can run effectively?
Okay, I'll try to be very pragmatic. Yeah, both options are possible. Depends on the context of your city and country, right? So again, I remind you about my paradigm about modular smart city, right? So what I want to do, how we can ensure faster development and also concurrent development. I think we can execute many things together. It will be faster, right? But again, there are something that we should wait sequentially. For example, you must collect the data properly. You must clean the data first before you can use it, for example, right? So I think there are certain areas that you must do in a sequential order. But again, in terms of the agile mindset and from the iterative mindset, what I want to enforce, I mean, especially in the government context, don't wait, right? If you already have anything and you can see certain areas you can execute together concurrently, why not? For example, so let's say, just use my concrete examples, certain initiatives about education, about mobility, about research, about citizenship, we can execute them concurrently because all the data, we already have like the relevant tables, relevant marks, and then we have several experts who are responsible for that domain, and we can just execute accordingly. So we don't need to wait sequentially, one by one, and then to deliver the result, then wait for the next one. I don't think so. If we do that, I think it'll be very slow, yeah. And we can't tackle or we can address the complex issue in the ecosystem.
Okay. This one, the Gina from Gina Agus Tiani. Yeah, she asks about we can believe that digital transformation for urban residents will run quite well. However, if we said earlier that 80% of the population will live in the cities, it means that the remaining 20% will live other than in the cities, where they will not get digital transformation, whether it will appear social or not, like a social justice maybe, Juan, because 20% of the people live in the city, and how well to deal with it.
Okay, sure. I think I can try to address that question, right? So I think what you're referring to is about the suburban, village, and so on, right? Again, for sure, more and more people who likes to live, work, study, and so on in the cities, right? To me, and it's not all about abstract concept, yeah. I have colleagues, let's say in the legislative, national legislative, who develop the policy, let's say for village, yeah, UU Desa, for example, right? So I have that as well. Even if you know certain provinces, we have the digital initiative as well for the village, right? For the suburban, untuk ini ya, peternak, petani, ya, farmers, ya, and then for the fishermen and so on. Again, we need to find a good use cases. What kind of features, right? What kind of tools that they need? Because we don't want to give irrelevant tools for them. We want to ensure they can learn, they can adopt the features properly. What I'm saying here is when we talk about city, when we talk about ecosystem, it's not only about the city per se, but we also talk about the surrounding, about the city itself, yeah, which is about the suburban, about the village, and so on. Even let's say about the Jakarta context, we talk also about Jabodetabek, the satellite cities. How we can work together and ensure the digitalization and also the policies that we build can be relevant and can be integrated as well. I think that's the mindset. And again, if you want to know more examples, I encourage you to search about the, let's say, Desa Digital, right? And then the features or innovation, let's say, for farmers, for fishermen, and so on. I think there are exciting initiatives about that. I'm not saying it's already perfect, but I think we are addressing that market as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's the last question from Tanya Patricia. Yeah, how do smart cities solve the population density problem? Yeah, that rise due to the urbanization, because in reality, citizens want to experience a better life. Yeah. Okay, and this can be achieved by moving to migration to the city. Yeah.
Okay, let me answer that based on my personal experience, right? Better life doesn't mean you all need to stay fully in the center of the city, right? Let's say in the Jakarta or CBD or the central Jakarta, right? Even myself, last time I stay in the Jakarta, yeah, renting a room, for example, in a cost, yeah. But again, in the, even now, I prefer to stay in the satellite city. I stay in the Kanggrawan, for example, right? So, what you mean by better life can be different from each demography or each of the person. But I admit that I think people need to have a good mobility. That's what I also discussed with my colleagues here in the transportation mobility domain in national level, in provincial level. I think what we need to do is how we can improve a proper policy in terms of the transportation, because we don't want like the heavy congestion every, let's say, weekdays, morning and evening, right? For the working people, for example. I think we have this comprehensive policy, let's say, about the hybrid working model and the integrated living area, whereby you have, let's say, shopping malls, schools, universities in each of the region. I think in Singapore we have this model, yeah. So the west part of Singapore, east, north, south, they have their own integrated area. So you don't need to travel across the area just for this. Another example is the zonation. I know there's a pro and cons, yeah, about the school zonation, but I think based on this, I think that's the idea, how we can improve the traffic and then the mobility as well, and how we can improve the living quality in the city as well. I think there are many areas that we can think through about this. What I really expect here is in the Jakarta, it's not only one central area that people want to go. Let's say, oh, I want to go near Bundaran HI for the shopping mall, right? I really wish in the future, in the north area, west area, east area, south area, we have a proper shopping mall, parks, residents, that you can stay there. Then you can at least sufficiently live there, right? So you don't need to travel too far, and we can reduce the congestion. You can enjoy the services that is reachable for you, and yeah, together we can improve the quality of life as well. Again, it's not easy to achieve this. I think we need to think through from the well-rounded policy perspective in the next, let's say, 5, 10, 20 years. Yeah, I think that's my comment about this.
Okay. You mentioned about the quality of life. Is there one question is about it from Salma? Yeah, it was said that by 2045, more than 80% population will live in cities. Therefore, livelihood other than in the cities, such as agriculture, plantation, and fisheries, will be decreased. Okay, and whereas the food needs of the population cannot be spared from those. So it leads to the question: can smart city become a solution or not? Yeah, it's about the maybe food scarcity or like farming scarcity, like
that. Yeah, sure. I think I'll be very pragmatic as well, and sorry, ongoing. Yeah, again, my answer is related to the smart village, yeah, desa digital and so on. So I think what I really wish, let me talk about Indonesia. Yeah, across province, we know the specialty or the uniqueness of the province. Or this province can provide certain, let's say, farming commodities, for example. Or this province can provide certain technologies. This province can provide certain, let's say, peternakan, poultry, for example, cow, for example, right, as the commodities. So based on this, then we can leverage and we can collaborate together. Even there's already existing technology usage, let's say, for drone usage for farming, for example, right, to ensure the quality of the plantation and so on. So I think there are many opportunities for this, and what I really wish is the collaboration between cities and village will be more integrated in the future, and we can bring technology to get the best from each of this area, yeah, from the cities, from the suburban, from the village. And I think for the good of the nation, Indonesia, and I think this is applicable as well to other countries in Asia. I think that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Maybe this is the last question, Juan, yeah, because we have to reach the end of time. As you know, the capital city of Jakarta will be moved to Kalimantan, okay? And how about the continuity of Jakarta smart city concept? It will be changed?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's already ongoing, and I involve as the committee, yeah, for the new capital and also the special status city for Jakarta. So I always tell this to my colleagues and friends. Yeah, I think the model will be quite similar like the US, which is Washington DC and New York. Yeah, whereby DC is a more ordered city for government, yeah, public affairs, historical context and so on. Whereby New York, yeah, it's more vibrant for, let's say, business, economics, entertainment, and so on. I think we have this new model, yeah, for this new capital city, Nusantara, and also for Jakarta. Even I think for Jakarta, I think smart city will be the model, yeah, about digitalization. Even if talking about technology. I think the unicorns here in Jakarta is really amazing. There are so many unicorns born in Jakarta, right? So I think in the future, although maybe Jakarta is no longer the capital, we will be the center, let's say, for economics, for digitalization, technology, entertainment, and so on. That's the way I look at it. And I think together with the new capital and Jakarta, we can contribute better for the growth for Indonesia and also for Asia. I think that's the way I see it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Pak Juan, yeah, for your coming here. And I think we end of the session of the webinar. Maybe you have any closing remarks before the session close?
Yeah, sure, no problem. And I hope you can get a glimpse, yeah, about the future possibility of smart city. And again, I always say, yeah, in smart city, we talk about ecosystem. So wherever you are, in the government, in the business, in the NGO, in the university, I think we should work together to improve the digitalization of the ecosystem of our countries, and from there, yeah, we can improve the quality of life, yeah, of our citizens and our government as well. I think that's my last note, and I hope this session is useful for you. And thanks for all your questions and comments as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Juan. And also thank you so much everyone for joining this session. And for information, the next session, the future of health, will start in 3 hours from now, and we can now take a break. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Budi. Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Pak Juan. Yeah.